Hey everybody, it's Miss Smith. So today we're going to talk about writing formulas from names. So yesterday we talked about how to write formulas from the ions, and it's a little bit easier because the ions, kind of lead you in the right direction to knowing when to use a Roman numeral and things like that. So now it's a little bit harder. You're given the full formula and you have to figure out the ions to make sure that your name is correct. All right, again, you're going to need this. Please make sure you get this out. You need it. If you have misplaced it or you forgot it at the house or you need a new one or something, let me know. You are going to need it. Writing formulas from, other way around. We are writing names from formulas. Okay, so a couple of examples. Let's start with this one here, just real simple. We're going to start with this one, NaCl. Hopefully by now you have seen me talk about NaCl for a while now. This is sodium chloride, but let me show you how I got there. So the easiest way to do this is to go ahead and break this down into its ions. So yesterday we took the ions, put them together, then named it. But if you have the formula already, you still need the ions to be able to name it properly to make sure that you're giving it the right name. So let's break this down. Now sodium is on the front side of the periodic table, just like most of the first terms that we deal with is on the front side of the periodic table. That is going to be Na plus. And then Cl is chlorine. That is a single atom, a single element, so that means it's on the front side of the periodic table, and that's Cl minus. Okay, and so this actually makes sense when it put it together to get this formula, because those were both ones, and so you don't write one, so NaCl makes sense. Excuse me. So now all you do is you find the name of this one, write it down, and we said that that was sodium. And then we find the name of this one and write it down. And so Cl minus, like we said, it was on the front side of the periodic table, that is called chloride. And that's it, you're done. Okay, so let's try another one. What about this one here? Okay, so Al, if you go to your periodic table, Al is always plus 3. So Al plus 3, aluminum. That's always plus 3. But there's nothing here. Okay? I knew that this was 3 because just like we cross and go down like this, when you take it apart to find the ions, you do the same thing, but opposite. You cross and go back up. So to check myself, this came from the periodic table, so that is correct, but it makes sense that there's a 3 here because it was up here. So that makes sense. Now OH, that is 2 elements because 2 capital letters. So if we go to the list on the back of our periodic table, there is one that is OH minus, which makes sense about why we don't have anything here, because it was just a -1 and you don't write ones. So that makes sense. Now, let's write this. Aluminum is not highlighted, so I don't need any Roman numerals, so it's just aluminum. So I found the name of this one. Now I need to find the name of this one. OH minus is called, on the back of your periodic table, hydroxide. Very simple. Okay, another example. Start to get a little bit harder. This one here. Okay, zinc. Let's go to the periodic table. Let's find zinc. Zinc is number 30 on the periodic table. Well, zinc always has a +2 charge. That's great. I'm glad it was on there. We found it. It was on the periodic table. This is what I mean by don't recreate the wheel. Go to the periodic table and find it. I knew this charge here because that's what the periodic table said. Okay, now, if you're looking at the formula, you realize that there's not a 2 out here. So something happened. So let's investigate a little bit. Let's go ahead and let's find the ion for this part here. Let's go ahead and let's get the ion for that. Let's find that. Now, I noticed this is 2 capital letters, so that means it's going to be on the back side of your periodic table on that list of polyatomic ions. SO4. There's only one SO4, and it has a charge of 2 minus. So that actually makes sense why I don't see a 2 here and why I don't see a 2 here, because these cancel each other out. They simplified out and they became 1s, and you don't write 1s. So that actually makes sense. So all I do now is find the name of this and write it down. That was zinc. I find the name of this and write it down. That was sulfate. Now, I don't need a Roman numeral because zinc was not highlighted. Okay, so I did 3 examples. Let me do one more. It's a little bit more difficult. Let's do this one. Let's see. I'm trying to pick a good one here. Let me turn the page. Let me go to one that's a little bit more difficult. This is a great one. I may do 2 more actually, because some of these are getting pretty hard. Okay, Ag C2H3O2. Okay, this one is a little daunting, okay, because you're like, holy cow, that's a bunch of letters. Okay, remember the first term is normally on the periodic table. This is the first term. These are 3 capital letters. This whole thing is 1 polyatomic ion. So Ag, if you go to your periodic table, Ag is number 47. Ag always has a +1 charge, always. So I'm going to go ahead and write down that +1 charge. So Ag +1. Okay, then I've got this here. This whole thing is 1 ion, C2H3O2. So let's go. I know that that's multiple elements, so that's going to be on that list on the back. So C2H3O2 is called acetate, but it's going to be C2H3O2 minus 1. All I do now is find what this is called. That is silver. I write that down. I find out what this is called, and I write that down. That is called acetate. Okay, no Roman numeral needed because silver was not highlighted. Okay, let's do one more. This is a great one. SnO2. Okay, so 10, which is Sn, 10, let's go to the periodic table. 10 is number 50. Now you have 2 options here. So I'm just going to go ahead and write it, but I'm just going to write real small up here. I don't know if it's +2 or +4. We're going to have to decide in a minute. You would think that since there's a 2 down here, you know, we cross and went up, that it is +2. But let's just make sure, okay? Just to be safe. These are in the wrong color. Trying to have some consistency here. +4 and +2. Okay, so this is oxygen. Oh, I just erased it. Okay, so this is oxygen. Okay, that is a single element, so that means it's from the front side of the periodic table. That has a charge of O minus 2. Now wait a minute. There's nothing here. But yet I have a 2 here? So if that was the case, and I used this, it was Sn plus 2 and O minus 2, then that formula would have just been SnO. But that's not my formula. My formula is SnO2. Okay, here's what happened. It's simplified. So let's go back. That means that it used the +4. Because remember, you have to check to make sure that these are not factors of each other. So these simplified, this simplified down to a 2, this simplified down to a 1. So when you cross and went down, there's that 2 there, and then there's nothing here because it was a 1. That's where it is. Now, this was important that we figure this out because 10 has more than one option, which means it's highlighted, which means we need Roman numerals. Had you went with +2, it would have been wrong. So the answer is 10,4 oxide. Okay, had you put 10,2, then I would have been wrong. Okay, we figured out that it was plus 4. All right, so let's go with a couple of other ones. So I'm going to give you, let's go to a different page. I will give you 3, and I'm going to start off fairly easy. So here's LiOH. That was fairly easy. You need to write the ions and the name. Oh, this is a great one. FePO4. Write the ions and the name. Okay, and then let's do one more. M in parentheses CN2. So write the ions and the name. So here are all 3. So go ahead and pause the video and work them out. All right, so let's answer these. So the first step, go to the periodic table, Li, okay? That's one element, so that's a capital letter, lowercase letter, so that means it's going to be Li plus OH, that is 2 elements, so it's going to be on the back. That is OH minus. Li is lithium. It is not highlighted, so no Roman numerals. OH is hydroxide. Okay. FePO4. Okay, so iron, go to the periodic table. Iron has 2 options. Crap. Oh man, I got 2 options. Okay, so that means I have to finish working everything else out to figure out which one. Okay, so iron has 2 options. So when this happens, and we've got to decide, is it going to be, for example, plus 2 or plus 3, I like to go ahead and look at what else is attached to it, because normally that will tell me which one to choose. Okay, so PO4, that's on the back side of the periodic table. That is multiple elements. PO4 has a charge of, because the charge is important, that is phosphate, has a charge of -3. Okay, so let's do some investigating here. If this is -3, when I put them together, I know I got to cross and go down, but I don't see a 3 here. Okay, so that must mean that it canceled. Okay, like it reduced down. So that means it was +3 and -3. These reduce each other. Oh, I just erased it. So these reduce each other. They go away. Okay, so that's why you don't have anything here. It's because they're technically 1. So the answer is iron 3. Got to use a Roman numeral because we had to choose 2 or 3. Phosphate. Okay, and that's it for that one. This last one. Okay, Mn, front side of the periodic table. It's a single element. Mn is +2 or +4. So Mn +2 or +4. I don't know yet which one. Yes, I know that there's a 2 here, but that can be deceiving, like we saw on this one. That's a 2 there. That was deceiving. So we got to check ourselves. So let's look at this first. Let's go to the back of your periodic table. There's 2 elements, so it's going to be on the back side of your periodic table. So that is Cn-. That is cyanide, and it always has a -1. Okay, so that means that there's a 1 here, and that's what's here. So that makes sense because you crossed and went down. So this means that this 2 goes up here. There is not a 4 anywhere in here. Nothing reduces, so you're left with +2. So this is manganese 2 cyanide. All right, that's it for today. You have some practice problems. Work those out. Ask me when you're ready for the answers, and take your quiz for today. If you need any help, you know where to find me.